It is Masters Week. Very exciting time. Yes, the full golf clap is involved. The team is ready to go. I saw Ian that he had mentioned, and I think both Ian and Reed mentioned this a little bit earlier, that we have closed the collective book and tab on KenPom. We can move on for back in golf season. We're going to have NBA playoffs coming up in a couple of weeks. Like, what a time. What a time in the world of sports betting. It is good to have all you guys with us for it here on the show today. Ben Heisler, Ian McMillan, Peter Dewey, Donovan Smoot, and Reed Wallach. Fellas, happy Masters Week. How's everybody doing? Everybody ready to go ahead and enter some of these pools, including the officially smack dab new BetSided pool that just launched today? Very, very exciting contest. Ian, how did this whole thing come together? And there's a pretty dope opportunity to win $250 as well.
Yeah, I ran a pool for the match play tournament a few weeks ago and it was pretty popular. So I said, hey, why not just turn that into a weekly thing? So free to enter. All you need to do is be following BetSided on Twitter, and you can win a $250 Visa gift card. So already quite a bit of entries so far today. So let's keep it going. It's going to be a weekly thing. Non-majors, the winner gets $50 gift card, and then all the majors will all be $250. So obviously, with the Masters being a major, $250 is on the line this week.
And you got to compete against us. You got to compete against us. Who wouldn't want to do that?
You get to compete against us. All of us are all in the pool. Obviously, we can't win. So, well, we can win, but we can't get the prize. But I don't know. Maybe the prize will go to second place after I take first.
By the way, Reed, I appreciate you stepping up today, getting your best golf attire on the show today. Like I feel like myself and Ian and Peter, Donovan always comes prepared for all these videos. Like Donovan every single week, best bets. The man is dressed to the nines, and we all
appreciate their appreciation.
But yes. But Reed brought it today.
College basketball's over. I got to get it now in the right mindset. We got to take off the sweatshirt and hoodie. We got to get the golf attire on. We're ready to go. Birds are chirping. We're going down to Augusta. Let's get that like mojo going.
You're right. I thought about it for like 2 minutes, and then I decided that I was comfortable in what I was wearing, and this is going to be the way forward. But on today's show, on today's version of Best Bets, we know that a lot of you guys, whether you're diving into Masters betting or not, that there's always that local pool, whether you're playing it through work, whether you're joining our pool over at BetSided. It's about choosing the right golfers and also choosing and maybe going against the grain a little bit and finding a way to differentiate your team. So what we've decided to do is go through all 5 tiers of all the different golfers that are available to bet over at WynnBET. We've brought them into these 5 different tiers and categories. And so over the course of our Best Bets video today, as you can see right here on the screen, these are amongst the leaders at each of the different bets. So the guys on top, the Jon Rahms, the Dustin Johnsons, Justin Thomas, Cam Thomas, Scottie Scheffler, those are the favorites on the board. You work your way down a little bit, you see Collin, Morikawa, Brooks Koepka, Jordan Spieth, McIlroy, Viktor, Hovland. Keep going down the list on and on and on until you get to plus 6,000 and above. And then you start to see some names, including last year's winner, Hideki Matsuyama, on that list as well. Some other big names on this list. I would be, and I should mention that guy in between that 5,000, 6,000 range that's just sort of hanging out, that Tiger guy that's been fluctuating a little bit. We've seen Tiger over at WynnBET as high as 80 to 1, as low as 40 to 1. I kind of want to start there before we start building out our teams, because obviously Tiger's back. And so I know that all of us collectively get amped up, maybe some of us more so than others, but now that Tiger has basically said if he's healthy, he's playing, are we going to be watching like from day one, from the moment that he tees off, like full on invested, like complete Tiger watch? Like, is this going to be something that you build your entire weekend around? Because I think it's going to be that way for me.
I'll pick up later in the week. I'll pick up later in the week. I think you guys are more excited about Tiger than I am.
Why is that?
I'm not. Listen, I have been like kind of okay. We'll say I've been like out on Tiger for a minute, and so watching him win in 19 was very fun. But that was a shock, and so I was like, that's just never gonna happen again. So like, if he's there, I'd be like, okay, this is cool. But I'm not going full Tiger watch. I'm just not there with Tiger right now.
I'm going to be watching Tiger Thursday more than any other day, probably, unless he's in contention, which I don't really expect on Sunday. But just the fact that he's going to be able to tee off after almost losing his legs a little over a year ago, and now he's all of a sudden in good enough shape to be walking this course and to be competing. Just seeing him hit his opening tee shot on Thursday is going to be a sight to behold. So I'm going to be watching him mostly on Thursday. I don't want to say he's not going to be in contention or that he's going to suck this week, but that is possible. So I'm going to watch him when he's sitting at even par because I don't know how long that's going to last for. So shout out Tiger. Should be fun.
What about you? What about you, Reed? What about you, Peter?
I'm a big Tiger guy, obviously. I think everyone's rooting for him, but I think it's funny every single golf show I've listened to, podcast I've listened to, everyone's taking this Tiger to make the cut at what I think it was like plus 120. Now it's like it's shifted over. Listen, I just think be happy he's back. I'm not looking to bet on him. I don't think he's gonna win. I don't think he's really gonna compete. I just think it's cool that I'm kind of on Ian's wavelength. It's cool that he's in it. I'm gonna watch Thursday and enjoy it, but I think people expecting him to actually win is kind of I guess if anyone could do it, it's him, but you're kind of asking for a lot here. So I just think enjoy it, but don't go wild with it. This guy, he's just happy to be out there.
Yeah, but sorry, Peter, really quick. I was just going to say back in 2019, and I talked about this on the golf show that I did with Cody yesterday. Check that out after the stream. Back in 2019, there was video evidence of me telling people and begging people not to bet on Tiger Woods because he had no chance, and then he went on and won. So I'm not expecting much from him, but I will not be the guy. I'm not going to stick my foot in my mouth twice about Tiger Woods. So I'll leave it at that. And as a fan, I hope for the best for him.
I think the way you got to look at this, there's only so many undisputed GOATs in different sports histories. I feel like Tiger is probably, in my personal opinion, is the undisputed golf GOAT. We may not get to see him that many more times. So, kind of got to cherish this moment of him at the Masters. There was a chance he was never going to golf again after that accident last year. So, the fact that he's back at this point on such a big stage, I'll be watching Thursday just because, we probably only got so many more of these left. And I think I've been looking at it too, with this season with LeBron and the NBA, not to automatically bring the NBA in here, but we only got so many great LeBron years left, only so many Tiger majors left. Just cherish them while we can, because, in 10, 15 years when they're no longer there, you're going to look back and be like, oh, I should have appreciated it when it was going on during my lifetime. It's pretty amazing when you get to watch the greatest of all time during your lifetime.
Yeah, as my light just went out, but no, I shout out ESPN also because they really changed all of golf viewing forever. You have all the different type of streams, especially early in the weekend. So I think that, if you want to watch Tiger, you're not I feel going to be flooded with it. I feel like ESPN has done a really good job with these majors. ESPN Plus really giving you these every shot, every which way, every group. I feel like you're going to have a lot of golf this weekend. So I think it's cool that Tiger's in it, but you're also going to see a lot of contenders also.
I was in Ian's camp back in 2019 as well, basically getting on whatever high horse I could to tell everybody not to bet on Tiger in the Masters. So when he goes and wins it, obviously it's an incredible story. And at that point, you don't even care how wrong you are. You're just rooting to see history. But the reality of it was he hadn't won a major since Barack Obama got elected president. It had been an 11-year stretch since Tiger was, hoisting up a major championship trophy. Now that he has that in his back pocket, even amidst everything, I'm not betting him, but to anybody that's well, you can find, right now at WinBet, he's 75-1. There's still that aspect of a Tiger tax that's on the board. You can find him, and there's going to be different places where you can find different odds. Obviously, I think right now Wynn has the more favorable ones, as some other books have so much liability on Tiger right now that it's down to 40-1 at some books, 50-1 at some books. If you feel like there's value there for you to enjoy the Masters, I will not talk anybody out of betting Tiger in this tournament. But I'm not going to touch it because I think there's guys that are actually at that same price that do have a chance to win it, relative to Tiger, who hasn't played a competitive round of golf on tour since the Masters 2 years ago. So with all that being said, let's dive into our field. We got a really intriguing list over at the top. Let's start with the favorites on the board over in tier number 1. You got Jon Rahm, top player in the world right now at plus 1,200 over on WinBet. Dustin Johnson, his odds have since moved down to plus 1,800. Scottie Scheffler, the hottest player probably on tour right now, is at 14-1. You got Justin Thomas, who has seen his odds go up to 13-1. And then Cam Smith, maybe a tad bit surprising for the more casual fan to see Cam Smith in that upper tier. So I think the question is, of those 5 guys, and I'll be curious to see who wants to kick things off today, in that top tier, are we going with the favorite? Are we trying to differentiate our lineup a little bit? Maybe go with somebody like Cam Smith. Dustin Johnson at one point was a lot higher. We've seen his odds move down. Are we getting good value on him in this tier? Who at that top of the list, when it comes to putting together our Ultimate Masters list and our Ultimate Masters pool, do we like the most?
I'm gonna be safe. I'm taking the favorite. I'm taking Jon Rahm for my pick. And so Ian the other day had put out a video on TikTok. It was a great video on the 5 key statistics that you need to know to properly bet the Masters. And 2 of them were past performances and then strokes gained tee to green. And Jon Rahm is 4th right now in tee to green. He has 4 straight top 10 finishes. And so if we're just, and Ian's the golf guy right here, right? He knows everything. And then so I'm gonna defer to him on this. And so Jon Rahm has a lot of those characteristics of the players that you on paper want to bet on. And so I'm gonna play it safe with the favorite.
All right. Rahm, by the way, 4 consecutive top 10 finishes at Augusta. Finished 4th in 2018, 9th in 2019, 7th in 2020, which was really the 2021, and then 5th. So if you're talking about a dude that is locked in at Augusta in recent form, you can certainly make the argument for him. He also leads all golfers over the past 5 years in total strokes gained at Augusta. So playing it safe, I certainly don't mind that pick, Donovan. What about for you, Reed?
I'm going with the hot hand. I'm going to ride Scottie Scheffler. I have a few weeks ago, I placed a bet on Scottie to win the Masters. He showed up in his 2 Augusta appearances, 19th and 18th. So he has the form to compete there. He's red hot.'s gone over the hump. He's won his tournaments, #1 golfer in the world. I'm just going to stick with it. I like Scottie to win. Maybe I'm just like, it's too public. It's too easy, but he's hotter than anyone. I mean, so give me Scottie.
All right, I'm going to start my handicapping of this entire thing by saying half of my picks, Ian is going to be like, wow, I'm right with Pete, and half of them he's going to be like, this guy's an idiot. That's how I'm going to.
The good news is that for like the first time ever on these videos, you guys might actually have some of the same picks.
That's what I'm saying. So the first guy I'm going to take, and Donovan talked about how Ian broke down 5 key stats, biggest one being tee to green. I'm taking Justin Thomas because he ranks number 2 in that spot. I think Justin Thomas is the guy here. He's been really hot as of late. Hasn't picked up a win, but it's been top 6 in 5 of his last 10 starts. I don't hate like the Scottie Scheffler pick of riding the hot hand because I think that matters coming into this. Like you want to take somebody who's playing their best golf right now, but at the same time, like I feel like more people are going to be on Scottie Scheffler than they will be Justin Thomas. So I think differentiate here and take JT. That's the way I'm going. I also kind of like the narrative of JT being part of that like up and coming next class of golf, and Tiger's out there. I feel like maybe he gets a Masters win, and we're looking at him in a little bit of a different light. So taking JT.
I think I got to go with JT as well. There's a lot of different metrics that are in his favor. One of them is total strokes gained right now. Like if you're talking about collectively Justin Thomas over his last 24 rounds, he is number 1 in the field in total strokes gained. He's number 2 in strokes gained tee to green, and he's also 4th in ball striking, and he's great right now around the greens as well. Only area of real concern with JT is his putting, and he's still 37th in the field. So collectively, this is somebody that is locked in over his last several rounds. I know that Scheffler probably has the better numbers as of late, but talking over the past 24 rounds, it's Justin Thomas. And also, I saw this note over from Data Golf that basically indicated that overall talent level, run up to the Masters, as well as consistency over time at Augusta, the number one player in their model was that of Justin Thomas. And I think you're right, Peter. I think there is a chance that he tends to be overlooked, maybe so in a casual pool when you talk about Rahm, who everybody knows. Certainly everyone knows Justin Thomas, but I think there is a sense of, well, when was the last time this guy won? I feel like it's been a little bit for him. I don't know if he's necessarily off the radar because he's still one of the best golfers in the world, but I do think if you're trying to differentiate a bit at the top between Rahm and DJ and those guys, I certainly think the argument is there for JT and even Scheffler to a certain extent. So I think that's 2 right now for Justin Thomas. What about for you, Ian?
Yeah, I'm in a little bit of an interesting spot, guys. As kind of the golf guy, I think that's why I'm going to go last here. I get to judge your guys' picks a little bit. I'm not going to veto and definitely go with the guy I say, but hopefully we are in agreement, at least myself with a couple of you guys, and we are in this case because I think Justin Thomas is the play to make. He's my favorite outright pick here. You guys were mentioning the 5 key stats that I broke down. 3 of the actual statistics. The other 2 are, experience and recent form. Strokes gained tee to green, par 5 scoring, and 3rd round scoring. Go check out that video if you want to know why, or I wrote an article about it as well. But there are 2 golfers in the field who rank in the top 10 and those 3 key statistics this week. We'll get to the second one in a little bit. I'm interested to see if you guys are going to pick this guy. But the first one's Justin Thomas. So he checks every single box. Jon Rahm, the best ball striker on tour right now, probably. It's very hard to argue against him too much, but Jon Rahm's short game has been terrible this year. So yes, strokes gained tee to green, very important, of course, but 170th in strokes gained around the green. So his chipping's bad, and 136th in putting. So his short game concerns me, which is why I'm leaning more towards someone else. And Scottie Scheffler, obviously he just became the number 1 ranked golfer in the world, the hottest golfer on tour right now. Hard to argue too much against him, but he's a guy who's good at everything, but he's not fantastic at anything. And I think to win the Masters with this strong a field, with this big of an event, you have to kind of separate yourself from the field in one category or another. And he doesn't really have that. And also 74th off the tee is a little bit concerning at Augusta, because you really got to pick your spots and set yourself up for good second shots here at Augusta. So since there's already 2 of you on it, I think it's a pretty easy selection as a team here. I think we're going to go JT for the top group.
All right, so that is JT for our collective group.
Donovan's pissed.
Donovan already frustrated
we
didn't go with it. Listen, there's plenty of time. It was a great argument for Rob. Like it's hard to go against somebody that's as consistent as he's been over time, and especially the last 4 years at Augusta. Like there's not anybody that's going to have better recent form playing that consistent at golf. Ian, if I had to ask you, like if you were actually handicapping the Masters, if you were setting odds here, would Rahm still be the rightful favorite, or would you give it to somebody else, even though I know you like Justin Thomas?
No, I wouldn't give it to Rahm. His short game is just too concerning lately. But I mean, he's even with his short game, he's still finishing near the top of the odds or the top of the leaderboard almost every week. So I probably wouldn't set him as the favorite. I'd probably set JT or maybe another name that we're going to get to, but also maybe Cameron Smith too. Cameron Smith just won the Players Championship, which is like the 5th unofficial major. So Cameron Smith is a sneaky play this week too. But I don't think Rahm is value as a favorite.
Also, Players Championship had a bunch of bad weather in it as well. There's going to be some windy conditions over at Augusta. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Smith got off to a really strong start, if not last year, certainly a couple of years ago at the Masters, where he was very much in contention up until
even
late.
3rd, right? Or he finished top 5 at least one of the past years.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And so he was right there in the mix, but I still don't think if you ask most casual golf fans if they would consider Cam Smith to be in the top 5 for contenders at Augusta, I still think that would probably surprise them. I think they would say Morikawa or Rory McIlroy among the mix as well. But yeah, and maybe even Koepka in that list. I think it's a bit surprising. So I would say if you're in a massive pool and those are the top 5 guys at the top, maybe somebody like Cam Smith allows you to differentiate your lineup a little bit. But I think in this sense, Justin Thomas makes the most amount of sense for our group at this point. All right, let's move on to round 2 of our tier, shall we? Collin Morikawa, PGA Championship winner from a couple of years ago over in San Francisco. Brooks Koepka, Jordan Spieth, Rory McIlroy, and Viktor Hovland round out this mix. So this is another fantastic group to consider. You have major winners in all but Hovland. But Hovland, if you're talking about a consistency level, this is a guy that's been in so many different battles. He's had some rough Sundays over the last handful of months, but he tends to be always near the thick of things when it comes to this round. This is probably of all of them, guys, the toughest one that I had to try to figure out where I wanted to go here. So who's brave enough to lead us off and make their argument in tier number 2? Peter's already getting the hands going. All right,
I got you. That's like Peter's tell. He's like, all right, here we go.
I told you Ian's gonna like some of my picks. He's gonna hate some of my picks because I'm saying Jordan Spieth, and I love Jordan Spieth, probably my favorite golfer on tour, and so there might be a little bit of bias in there. But my thing with Jordan Spieth, talk about players who have played well here. He has played extremely well at Augusta. He's a former winner. Yes, he had the choke job and lost what could have been his first title, and then eventually got it afterwards. But I like Jordan Spieth. I think he plays well here. Normally, his short game is his strength. It's been really, really bad this year. No better time to turn it around than, of course, he's always played well at. He's still 48th in strokes gained off the tee this year. I'm feeling this one. This one is more of a to the heart bet, but I also just love how he's played here. So give me Jordan Spieth.
Yeah, I'm not on the Jordan Spieth bandwagon. When it comes to outright golf betting, it feels like sometimes players will hit a certain price that you just need to start betting on them. And that's with me and Brooks Koepka at 20-1. It feels like the price is it's like the price is right now. It's like Dustin Johnson a few months ago was, trending towards like 30-1. Like what? Like, come on. Like Dustin Johnson should never be like, he's eventually going to win. He's going to get over the hump. But Brooks, I think, is set up for success here. If you look at his recent tournaments, came in 12th, but then he has an outlier where he missed the cut, the Players, but that was due to weather. I'm going to go with 16th at the Honda Classic, another missed cut, 3rd at the Phoenix Open. So you're seeing a lot of erratic play, but Brooks does have the track record of success at Augusta. Career in 2020 came in 7th. I know he missed the cut last year, but 7th, 2nd, 11th, 21st, and 33rd. So there's a track record of success here. I think you're going to see Brooks compete. He always seems to be in the mix on Sunday in these majors. I think Brooks of all these guys is going to give you the most consistent draw. I was between him and Collin Morikawa, so I ended up on Brooks.
That's fair. And so I'm this close to jumping on the bandwagon with you. I couldn't do it. I got to go with Collin Morikawa. That's where I'm going. Listen, so Collin had a really, really big jump from 2020 to 2021. He finished tied for 44th and then tied for 18th. And one of the things that whenever I'm looking at his stats is the par threes in all his rounds. On the par threes, he finishes under. In the par fives, he finishes under. Now he's +9 on par fours in all rounds. And so if he can clean that up just a little bit, he can get down to it. This season, he's 6th in holes per eagle and 6th in birdie average. And so I think if you're seeing the way that he's finishing these holes, you could probably take a couple strokes off and maybe get down from -1, -2, -3, and just kind of sneak into that top. So I really like the way that he's finishing, and so that's why I'm gonna go with him.
All right, so we got 2 for Morikawa. We got 1 for Spieth.
No, I'm Brooks. I passed Morikawa for Brooks.
That's right. All right, so now we're got one for each. One for Morikawa, 1 for Spieth, and 1 for Brooks Koepka. So Morikawa's my guy, but I do have some concerns about his recent form coming into this tournament. Like last 2 tournaments, he missed the cut at the Players. Granted, I don't know if I'm necessarily going to hold it, against him because of the conditions. But for anybody, Morikawa has been one of those dudes that can play in almost any condition because of how elite he is with his irons. But he missed the cut at the Players, finished 68 at the Valspar, and around the green, he lost 6 strokes in that tournament. And his putter, like with Morikawa, that's all about confidence because when he's locked in, like every other part of his game is fairly consistent. His putting can be a disaster or he can be as locked in as anybody. And he's lost strokes in 2 of his last 3 tournaments, both at the Players and at the Valspar, like in pretty serious fashion. And he was bad off the tee as well. Like this, something isn't right with Collin right now. And for me, even though he's going into Augusta where he played well last year, I just can't get behind it. If we're looking for a player to differentiate, Hovland is intriguing, right? Top 32 in 2019, top 21. He's on that trajectory of getting back to somebody that is going to be in contention all weekend long, somebody that's got really good numbers fairly consistently. Hovland right now 11th in total strokes gained. He's third in ball striking. He's second in the field in approach. Like right now, Hovland's iron play is spectacular, like to the levels that we expect of a Collin Morikawa. I saw this note about Brooks Koepka from Justin Ray Golf, and I think it's worth repeating because if we're talking about consistency over time, he is first in the following categories in majors since 2016. Score to par, birdies or better, rounds in 60s, scoring average, rounds led and co-led, strokes gained total, and wins. First in all 7 categories.
That's Hovland?
No, it's Brooks Koepka.
Oh,
That's
okay. Yeah, sorry. Okay, yeah.
The big game hunter,
I knew that,
who lost out to Tiger a couple of years ago, is back for revenge. I think if you're going to try and find that top tier guy, it has to be Koepka here. But if you're looking to differentiate, I think Hovland is an intriguing pick. So I will make the argument for Brooks Koepka because I believe he's firmly in contention to win versus Hovland, I believe is further in contention to hang around. I would expect Koepka to win. Hovland, I would bet, is a top 5, top 10 guy. So my pick is Brooks Koepka.
That kind of leaves me with the big deciding factor here, doesn't it? This is tough, guys. To be honest, I don't like this group in general. I don't really love anyone in this group. I have to kind of be the deciding factor right now. I was actually kind of leaning Rory a little bit, to be honest, who I believe is in this group. But what I'm going to do at the end of the day here, I'll give my arguments why. First of all, Jordan Spieth, betting on him to miss the cut's going to be a better bet. Past performance of the Masters is important, but that can't be the only thing that you look at. 180th in strokes gained putting. Augusta National is not a tournament where it's like, oh, this is a good time to turn it around. This is some of the hardest greens to putt on. If he's 180th on normal events at normal courses, I don't know what he's going to be here. And then Brooks, those stats that you mentioned about him at majors. I mean, that goes back to when he was winning, 2 majors a year, when he was the back-to-back U.S. Open champion. In my mind, I'm not a big believer in that either. That's like talking about trends in other sports that go back 5 years. I don't really think they're too useful here. He's 107th in approach right now, 100th in strokes gained tee to green, 89th in total strokes gained this season. He's inconsistent. He finishes 15th, but then he'll miss the cut and then finish 30th and then miss the cut. So that would be my argument against those two guys. Hovland, I can't really trust him because his chipping play, as you mentioned, around the greens, he's worse than 200th. I am going to go with, and this is going to make it a 2-2 tie now. So you guys can kind of make the final call. I'm going to go with Collin Morikawa. That's going to be my pick out of this group. His recent play in the past couple events is concerning a little bit. That was a good point. But I mean, before that, he was second, T7, T5, T2. His stroke or his approach play isn't as strong as it was last year. Last year, he was first in approach by a mile. It wasn't even close. But his putting is way better. 31st in strokes gained putting, and last year he's 150th. One of the worst putters on tour last year when he won the Open. Don't forget, he's the defending championship golfer of the year as well. So my pick's going to be Collin Morikawa here. I think the course fits his style of play to perfection as well. So I guess that puts us in a 2-2 tie between Morikawa and Koepka. So I don't know how we're going to decide this.
So you're talking about trends, Ian, and some of them, with Koepka, I completely understand, but they all hold up. They're number one at majors and at the Masters. So yeah, the rest of it's almost a common knowledge theme that Koepka's just going to kind of half-ass it the rest of the year. But when majors show up, or the Phoenix Open, he's just going to go out and dominate. So,
he missed the cut last year.
He missed the cut last year, but he's still number one in all those different metrics. So even by missing the cut, he's still at the top of the list. I think that's enough. I think that's enough of a sample to feel really good about him going in.
You want to talk about a guy who shows up for majors. What about Morikawa? He's a defending Open champion golfer of the year.
You're right, and he's got 2 majors at age 24. He's a stud. An absolute stud. And both of them, when it comes to recent form, aren't particularly good. I've just seen it more consistent over time with Brooks, especially at Augusta. So that's my lean towards him. All right. So if we're now debating, if we got 2 on Brooks, 2 on Brooksy, 2 on Morikawa. Sorry, Peter. I think your guy Jordan Spieth is likely getting chopped here.
He's got to decide.
Yeah,
So I
Peter's
get
got
to
to be the
decide.
deciding factor.
Change your pick, Peter.
I'm gonna be on the right side of history here. I'm gonna side with Ian and Donovan because I just don't want Ian chirping me on Twitter. So we're gonna take Morikawa here.
Intimidated you into picking.
But when Jordan Spieth finishes top 10, I want all the smoke.
In Peter's defense, he did say Arkansas was going to the Final Four ahead of Gonzaga, and they almost did. Almost did.
Keyword.
Listen,
Keyword almost.
Listen, none of y'all thought they were getting past Gonzaga, and I knew that was happening.
I
That
didn't
was a
think they were going to
guarantee.
Vermont.
That was a lock.
I will say this feels like the tier though that you're going to get a lot. Like if we're like building out this pool, this is where like 2 of these guys are going to miss the cut. One guy's going to come in third. Like I feel like this is like the polarizing. I think Ian, you kind of said you don't really like these guys to begin with. Just from a pool perspective, this is a tough one to figure out. So again, when it comes to like betting these outrights, I know this isn't necessarily what we're talking about, but like sometimes you get to a guy at Brooks and just it feels like some of these prices just get too long on these guys. Where like a guy like Rory, he could easily go like 4 over on Thursday, you know? So I feel like this group is going to be really polarizing. You're going to see a lot of varied results compared to other groups, especially for being a tier 2.
And listen, I will say I've been trashing your guys' picks here. I mean, at the end of the day, I was just trying to argue more for my pick and trying to make a convincing argument. Any of these guys could win it, and I wouldn't be surprised. Actually, you know what? Except for Spieth.
Come on.
But I mean, yeah, Brooks could. I mean, yeah, Brooks could show up.
All right, so JT and Collin Morikawa are our first 2 team collective picks as we build out the Ultimate Masters pool. Next up on the list, we got an intriguing tier in the middle. You have Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay, Will Zalatoris, who, by the way, had a great conversation with our own Ian McMillan. You guys should check that out once you're done watching this right on our YouTube channel. Really good stuff from Will. Told some funny Tony Romo stories. They go out golfing all the time. There's actually some bets on the line as well. Matthew Fitzpatrick, the Northwestern grad, and Sam Burns round out that middle tier. So you've got some really intriguing names. Schauffele and Cantlay, I would argue most times would probably be in that second tier. Zalatoris, obviously with how well he played last year at the Masters, but just ultimately falling a tad bit short. He's been very in contention for a lot of different events. Fitzpatrick right now might be one of the hottest golfers on tour that nobody's discussing. And then Sam Burns is sort of in that similar realm there. And I think he was a guy that I liked last week as well. So in this mix of the middle tier, I think from a popularity standpoint, the first 3 names are going to be in a ton of pools, right? Consistent, really good iron play, good off the tee. Putting can be a little bit inconsistent, but Cantlay especially, as that's been an area of strength for him. Tell me if we're going to try to differentiate here. Like who are we starting off with here, guys? Like if we're trying to find, we got to differentiate our lineup maybe a little bit, right? Especially if we're entering this pool. Where are we going in tier number 3? Reed, I can start with you on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the BetSided favorite, Will Zalatoris. Listen, this guy's been eating in all the tournaments. You know, he's been going up against tough competition. I know he hasn't gotten over the hump yet, but again, we don't need to necessarily pick the winner. We need to pick a guy that's going to show up. And I mean, Zalatoris was in the hunt last year. I understand he's young, but he's shown up in all these big tournaments. I don't have all of them in front of me, but I know he has a second place finish. He had a top 10 earlier in January. I think this guy's going to be consistent. And Ian's mentioned it. I believe it. You know, form at Augusta is important. And it's clear that Zalatoris is, I know it's only one sample size, but comes out as this young kid and shows up like that all weekend at Augusta. I think he could do it again. And I look at this group, I think guys like Cantlay and Schauffele doesn't win golf tournaments, so that makes it difficult to take him. But like Cantlay, like I feel like this is kind of a prime fade Cantlay spot after he's been nails in all these big tournaments. I just think Zalatoris, it's almost like he's almost too trendy that no one's going to take him because everyone thinks that they're going to take him. So I like zigging on what you are, or zagging where you think it's a zig. So I'll stick with Zalatoris, the BetSided favorite.
Yes.
Really quick, Reed. That's that's an American gold medalist you just trashed in Xander Schauffele. He won a gold medal for your country, and now you're saying he doesn't win tournaments? How dare you?
On that course, I could have scored. I could have broken par on that course. That was like a putt course.
All right, Peter, go ahead.
Listen, I'm close personal friend Will Zalatoris. I'm right there with
the program.
Reed. Yeah, I'm right there with Reed. Just look at some statistics for Will Zalatoris this year. Number 1 in strokes gained tee to green. Number 8 in strokes gained off the tee. 2nd in strokes gained approach the green. 17th in driving distance. 9th in greens per in regulation. Just the dude's good. Like, he's very good. And Ian talked about, like, you have to pick your spots at the Masters off the tee. I think he can do that. He showed he could do it last year. Reed brought up his current form too. Like, I think this is the spot. Like, I get trying to differentiate in a pool like this, but at the same time, like, that doesn't mean don't take the guy you think is the best guy. I think he's the best guy in this category. So, like, if everybody takes him, but he finishes top 10 and we don't take him, like, then you're in a bad spot. So I'd rather, sometimes you got to just say, bite the bullet and be like, hey, everybody's going to be on this guy, but if we're on him, we're going to be right there with the rest of the pool. So give me Zalatoris.
2 for Will. Who you got, Donovan? Is this going to be a possible clean sweep here for Willie Z?
I'm gonna end this. We don't have to talk about this anymore. Will Zalatoris is my pick.
We're all sipping the Kool-Aid.
Exactly. We're all on the wave. And Peter mentioned it. First in tee to green, 2nd in approach to green, runner up last year. There's a lot on paper that's going in his favor. And so I'm assuming that at least one other person on this panel is going to take Will. So I'll leave it up to them. But yeah, I'll end it right now. It's already majority.
I mean, all of them very compelling points. But if I were making a selection here, I think everyone's going to be on. I get your idea, Reed, that, everyone says they're going to take Will Zalatoris, but are they really going to take Will Zalatoris? Yes. Dude's an easy guy to root for. Obviously had a ton of success last year at this tournament. Has been nails, like you mentioned, in a lot of big tournaments. I think this is a great opportunity for a tier to differentiate. And if I were choosing, I would go with Matthew Fitzpatrick here. He's leading the entire tour in strokes gained total so far in 2022. His numbers over his past 12 rounds have also been outstanding. Looking at Fitzpatrick right now, he's 7th on tour over his last 12 rounds in strokes gained total. He's somebody that, again, you're looking for guys that are going to be in contention throughout. Schauffele can have some real bad starts, and that costs him. He could play great Saturday and Sunday, but ultimately, what does that get you? Cantlay has had some bad missed putts over the course of his career that have locked him out of some potential major opportunities in tournaments along the way. Is he probably the most talented out of all these guys on the list? I'd say so, but I think Fitzpatrick, especially one of the guys that we've seen over at WinBet's odds go up the odds board, so skyrocket up the odds boards as opposed to going lower, or whatever argument we were having. A little bit, maybe it's a little bit too inside radio here. But I think Fitzpatrick is a great opportunity to differentiate. And the fact that we've seen his number move up tells me that there's some sizable money coming in on the Englishman and the former Northwestern Wildcat. So I think there is a compelling argument for Fitzpatrick here. And I would probably go with him even over the BetSided darling that is Will Zalatoris.
So this group, I actually think, I said the last group I didn't love because I didn't love anyone in it. This group's the opposite, where I love almost everyone in this group. Actually, 2 of my 3 outright picks are in this group. One was JT. Xander, I'm not going to pick him for the sake of this pool just because
he doesn't win.
He breaks my heart every year at the Masters, but he's become a yearly tradition for me to bet on. Zalatoris, I'm fine with us going with him. Like, majority's already decided, so we're going to go Zalatoris. I have a bet on him to finish top 10, so I'm fine with Zalatoris. His putting concerns me a little bit, especially he's been very shaky on short putts, like 3 to 5 footers, and his strokes on those putts look bad. But he's so good tee to green that he can make up for it. But just for sake of argument, my pick for this group would have been Matt Fitzpatrick. I mentioned earlier, there's 2 guys on tour who are in the top 10 and tee to green, par 5 scoring, and round 3 scoring. One was JT. The other guy was Matt Fitzpatrick. So we're talking about statistically one of the best, arguably, well, he's first in strokes gained total. So statistically, he's the best golfer on the tour this season, even though the wins aren't there. Now, I will say, I'll play devil's advocate to myself. The reason why you might want to stay away from Fitzpatrick, if there is an argument against him, is that he hasn't really played well at Augusta. He finished 7th in 2016, and then since then, he's finished 32nd, 38th, 21st, 46th, and then last year he finished 34th. So not great results at Augusta, but he's clearly playing the best that he's ever played. So I'm happy with us going with Will Zalatoris, but for the record, my pick would have been Matt Fitzpatrick.
What odds you get on top 10? I kind of like that.
For Zalatoris?
Yeah.
I can let you know in a second. I don't know off the top of my head.
I kind of like that, though, because I think he's going to contend one way or another.
I don't know what it's worth on Fitzpatrick, last 5 Masters, never missed a cut. 32nd, 38th, top 21st, top 46, and top 34 over his last 5 Masters. It's a guy that's going to be around through Sunday, playing the best golf of his career. I will be betting on Fitzpatrick, but certainly I'm not going to argue the team pick of Will Zalatoris. Also, we got some folks checking in. Is this from Nikhil, who was a big Donovan Smoot fan, apparently, and judging by the last 2 picks in our tier, certainly seems to be getting on board. So thank you for tuning in, and shout out Donovan.
That's the homie. That's my college roommate.
2 quick comments. I got Will Zalatoris plus 250, and Matt Fitzpatrick has been making cuts, but I will say that's a little deceiving at the Masters because it is a smaller field, and there's like 20 guys who will never make the cut, like past winners, and like Sandy Lyle is still playing at like 66 years old, and Larry Mize. So, but yes, yeah, well, Brooks Koepka missed the cut last year, so it certainly is possible. But yeah, Fitzpatrick has made the cut.
Just for everybody, I just bet Jordan Spieth plus 220 to finish top 10. So we're here.
Live show bet.
Live show bet. I had to, after everyone clowned me, I had to do it. This is Arkansas part 2, baby. Arkansas part 2.
I will get a Jordan Spieth tattoo. I'm not doing that again.
They say you learn from the lessons of the past to build a stronger future. All right, so I like our team so far. A lot of talent on the board, as we got JT on top, Collin Morikawa in tier number 2, and then Willie Z, Big Willie style, over in tier number 3. No love for Sam Burns, who, granted, I don't think he's played at Augusta National before, if my numbers are correct, but. I mean, if we're talking about a guy that's been as hot as anybody over the last 12 rounds, 2nd in strokes gained total, and 3rd in strokes gained putting, he's also 4th in short game and 9th in approach. So Sam Burns, definitely worth some consideration. Another reason why you see him in a pretty elite category over in that middle tier, when you probably would have expected him maybe in tier number 4 or tier number 5. All right, let's work our way down. We got Daniel Berger. At plus 5, I think he's at plus 5,000 over at WinBet. Same thing with Tyrell Hatton. Bryson DeChambeau has seen his odds just fall off a cliff. You got Louis Oosthuizen, talk about another consistent guy on tour, and then some guy named Tiger, who we probably don't know really much about. He's just kind of there, hanging out, saying hi to friends, maybe checking out the azaleas. So when it comes to this tier, probably a little bit more challenging, I would say. I know that we talked about Tiger initially in the opening part of this conversation, but I'll throw it out to whoever is brave enough on our list amongst our group. You can reveal yourself now and make your case. Will any of you make the argument to take Tiger in this tier?
I might.
Peter's betting card of Jordan Spieth,
I might.
and Tiger Woods.
I might.
Let the magic happen.
I'm on the fence. I actually don't have a strong lean here. I was gonna be either way. I would have went for Tiger or Daniel Berger. Daniel Berger been very good tee to green. He's been 8th so far this season. That was like my lean here. But part of me is just thinking, I know everybody's going to take Tiger, but like, man, if Tiger does something crazy, I want to be on the right side of history. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, you shouldn't bet on Tiger Woods. It's Tiger Woods. I could see that the narrative is beautiful. Like, the narrative of Tiger coming back and winning, like, would just be absolutely insane. And sometimes that stuff happens in sports. I don't think it's going to happen. But as someone who didn't love anyone in this group necessarily, like, I don't hate it. He knows the course. Obviously, he's played there. He's been playing there all week. He's ready to go. Like, this isn't like he's just like, oh, I'm going to show up Thursday because I decide I'm going to play the match. Like, he's been preparing for this. He knew this was going to happen. So I don't hate a little bit of Tiger here, but I will defer to everybody else.
If you won't be the person to stand up and say, don't bet on Tiger, I will. Don't do it. It's a waste of money. He's not going to do anything. What happened in 2019 is an anomaly. Like, lightning won't strike twice. It's not gonna happen. Like, you're talking about the narrative. Narrative isn't going to make putts. Like, he's going to have to do that himself, and I don't believe he's going to do it. I'm going to go elsewhere here. I'm going to go with Louis Oosthuizen. And listen, the last 3 years he's had one bad round. He's had one bad round in each of the last 3 years that's thrown him off. But the last time that he had a very solid 4 days, he finished top 12. The putting concerns me for him. He's 111th in putting this season. But really what I'm just hoping for is that he just doesn't fall apart on one day. And even if he can avoid a major crash, right, and just be average, I'd like him to have a very solid day. So I'll go there. And even him, who's again fallen apart for 3 straight years, I still like him better than Tiger Woods. It's done.
It's done. Anyone for you, Reed,
So,
that you're leaning towards?
Yeah, I'm kind of between Daniel Berger and Tyrell Hatton. Hatton is really streaky, but he closes strong in a lot of tournaments. Did it the Players last month, and even at Augusta last year, I believe he shot a 68 on Sunday to have his best.
Yep.
Yeah, 68 on Sunday to have one of his best finish at the Masters. So guy goes, nuclear on one day, maybe consistent the other one, get a top 20. I also like Daniel Berger. He's been in good form. Like Pete said, those are kind of the two I was leaning at. But again, you're kind of throwing darts. I don't have a strong feel. I guess if I had to pick one, I'll take Hatton.
The guy that I actually like the most in this category that I didn't include on this list, because I think he moved up out of this tier, is Shane Lowry. So I won't spend a lot of time talking about him, but that's somebody that's climbing up a little bit. Also a former major winner over at the Open Championship. Dude always competes really well in a lot of these majors. But I'm probably leaning towards Berger based on recent form. He's top 10 in strokes gained total, top 8 tee to green. He's been really good both with his irons, top 15 over his last 12 rounds. Great with his chipping, 4th in the entire field. The putter is a little bit inconsistent, but again, like, I trust Berger enough to get to the point where he can turn it around. It's not atrocious bad. It's just been a tad bit off. And also, this is somebody that has a feel for Augusta National in his past. I know he missed the cut last time out, similar to Brooks Koepka, but still a couple of top 20, top 30 finishes in his past as well. Again, probably some names in this group that I don't particularly love, that I don't plan on betting. But if I have to choose one for this field, I like Berger probably the most of anybody, with the exception of Shane Lowry, who's not on our list.
This is a tricky group because every single guy has pros and cons. I could say good things about all 5 of these guys. I could say bad things about all 5 of these guys. I think I'm going to go Tyrell Hatton on this one. Pretty simply because if you want to bet on the best putter on tour right now, bet on Tyrell Hatton. He ranks 1st in strokes gained putting. Like Reed said, he had a strong start at the Masters last year. I think he finished 17th, which was his
18th.
best finish. 18th, top 20. So his approach game concerns me a little bit. But like I said, he is statistically the best putter on tour right now. So for that reason, I'm going to go him. I mean, Dechambeau, if Dechambeau brings his A game and he can drive the crap out of the ball, he can run away from the field. But he's been hurt, and he missed the cut last week. He's been bad. Obviously, we all know about Tiger. Louis Oosthuizen is kind of built for majors because he doesn't bogey a lot. He's a very good scrambler, but he's not a big birdie guy. So these birdie fest non-major tournaments, he can't really compete. But at tough courses like Augusta, Louis Oosthuizen can kind of bring it. So pros and cons with everyone. I think I would be choosing between Hatton and Berger. I think I'm going to go Hatton. So I don't know where that brings us with the voting. This is a tough group.
So what, we got two for Hatton, we got 2 for Berger, and then Peter's on Tiger.
No, I said Berger. I said Tiger. If we were gonna go straight into the Tiger spot, I would support it. But Berger is my lean if we were gonna take anyone here.
And then Donovan has Louis Oosthuizen.
Yeah.
So so it's 3 on Berger then?
No, it's 2-2. So Donovan has to choose between Hatton and Berger.
Berger.
Okay.
We'll go Berger. Just on the spot. That's it.
Right.
I do have a soft spot for Berger. He won me like 35-1 in the first tournament back from the pandemic. So I've a little bit of a soft
on
spot.
that in California or whatever, right?
What, the tournament?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it was in California. Maybe he's in California. I don't remember.
He like eagled 18 or something, right?
He played Morikawa in a playoff. Morikawa missed like a 3-foot putt to push.
Yeah, I remember that because I was on Morikawa.
Which one did he win for? What did he win?
It might have been in California. I honestly don't remember which event it was, but it was the first event after the pandemic. So I even though I chose Hatton, I'm fine with Daniel Berger. I'm cool with that.
Sure.
Now I'm very curious to remember. It was the Charles Schwab Classic that Berger ended up defeating Morikawa in the I was about to say overtime. I'm thinking about basketball. In the playoff. It was a great field for that event because it was Berger and Morikawa. You had DeChambeau, Schauffele, and Jason Kokrak and Justin Rose that were all 1 stroke behind.
Schauffele coming in second place. What a shock.
Yeah, really. Professional second placer. No, I had Berger in the Pebble Beach one where
he won that as well. Yeah.
Somebody like imploded on like 16 and he won. The only golf bet I've ever hit in my entire outright winner I've ever hit in my entire life.
Berger was locked in at the start of the pandemic, and then he got hurt and then just fell off a cliff. But that was the hottest golfer on tour for
He's finding his form on Thursday. I'll tell you that much.
So we're going
everyone
with
we
Berger?
pick in this pool is finding their form on Thursday. That's just what I heard.
Yeah, I mean, all of these guys, you could certainly make a very compelling argument for first round leader as well, just because the form will be there. We're moving lines here. This is what we do. All right, so Daniel Berger rounds out tier number 4. We got one more to go, and this is the plus 6,000 or up crew. So again, one last look at our current team: Justin Thomas, Collin Morikawa, followed by Will Zalatoris and Daniel Berger. A lot of young upside on this team, even with a couple of vets as well. With Thomas and Berger, it's a nice mix. This is an NBA team that's got guys in their early 20s and then their mid 20s. You don't have any wily veterans on the squad right now that are just there for morale. All these guys know how to win. All right, so let's look at the final tier. Adam Scott plus 6,000 over at WinBet. Tony Finau, again, we're talking about inconsistencies. He can be amongst the elite golfers in the field, but his odds have also gone off a cliff as of late. Last year's winner, Hideki Matsuyama, he plans to play. Saw the menu, by the way, that Matsuyama got to choose over at Augusta National. It looks phenomenal. Way better than whoever had won it a couple of years beforehand. Russell Henley, guy that might be floating a little bit under the radar in pools. And Canada's finest, Corey Connors, rounding out the field in the final tier as well. All right. Very intriguing names from this list. I know that there might be a bit concerned with Matsuyama, who's been dealing with a bit of an injury, but all accounts are that he is going to play when it comes to this week at Augusta. Scott obviously had won there before, I think in 2013. Finau still in search of a Masters win. Same thing with Henley and Connors. So who do we like from this mix? We got a couple of vets. We got a couple of young guys. A good mix of players to choose from here in this final one. So who wants to go first on this one?
Yeah, I could go first. I think this is a pretty simple one. I kind of decided this one almost instantly. It's Corey Connors. Back-to-back top 10s at Augusta. Guy's playing great. I mean, this is an easy one. I might take a stab at him to win outright. Guy has the form here. I can't believe he's this far down on the board. I mean, it's pretty simple. On these, you're going for upside. And like, I get Adam Scott. I get Tony Finau. Matsuyama, I think, is a stay away. Russell Henley, no thanks. But I think Connors here is a total play. I think he's a contender to, again, win outright.
All right, so one for Corey Connors, as you mentioned, the 2 top 10 finishes the last couple of years at Augusta. Who do you like, Pete, in this final tier?
Yeah, I'm surprised Reed just dismissed Russell Henley so fast in this spot. He's number 1 right now in strokes gained approaching the green. He's 7th in tee to green right now. Like, I like Corey Connors too, but I like Russell Henley as well. I'm gonna make the argument for him. He scares me a little bit off the tee. He's 118th right now, so that is where I feel like he could run into some trouble. But he's 3rd in scoring average right now on the tour this season. So like this is a guy who, if you're looking for somebody, we're not necessarily trying to pick the winner at this point. Like when you're taking one of these pools, like you want to be consistent. If he's gonna be consistent and he can make the cut and put you in a spot where maybe he is pushing for a top 10, top 20 at the end of the tournament, like that's great. I think you get a lot of consistency out of Russell Henley. I like the Connors pick, but give me Henley here.
All right, one for Henley, one for Corey Connors. Where are you leaning on this one, Donovan? Who's your pick?
I'm gonna be real. I didn't really have like a great sense on this one, but I was leaning towards a back-to-back run with Hideki. I think, like Peter said, all of our guys are just going to round into form on Thursday, so I don't really have that much of an issue with this recent play. But I mean, you have the experience from last year. He's top 15 in birdie average. He's 12th in strokes gained in tee to green. So there's a couple things that I like. I think that being in this environment, he'll actually turn it up. And so, I'm not listening. And again, I'm not super confident on that, but I'll take last year's winner as my pick.
All right. So Matsuyama on the board, Corey Connors on the board, and I'm just blanking out. And then Russell Henley on the board as well. That's good. I'm glad that depending on who Ian goes with, we can at least eliminate either Scot or Finau from the mix as well. For anybody that was reading over at BetSided, Ian wrote an article where we not only dove into some potential winners for the Masters, but we reached out to all of you guys as well and asked you for your thoughts and who is that guy that you were taking to win the major, win the Masters. And I decided to weigh in on it. And the guy that I took, you mentioned you might go ahead and bet him outright, Reed. I already did. I bet Corey Connors outright to win the Masters. I think he's in a great spot at Augusta National this year. Again, I've talked about some of the findings from Justin Ray at Justin Ray Golf. Most strokes gained approach per round at the Masters since 2015. Corey Connors ranks 3rd on the list from my guy Fantasy Golf Pod. Players with top 10s at both Masters last season. Corey Connors is one of 4 players along with Jon Rahm, Patrick Reed, and Cam Smith. The recent form is outstanding as well. The back-to-back top 10s at the Masters is excellent. Everything sets up really well for Connors right now, and confident player. Actually, the last couple of years, you've seen the trends of guys have made that ascent over a couple of years going into the Masters, with the exception of Tiger Woods, to go in and build a little bit of consistency at Augusta National before finally taking over and winning the thing. I think Connor sets up awfully nicely. I think the most upside out of all the players in this field. And he's not only a guy that I would take in a pool, but a guy that I'm already betting outright. So give me Canadians' finest. Give me Corey Connors.
I now need to bet that. Because I
thought you were going to say I need
can't
to
now not bet it.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I now need to cancel my bet. All right, Ian, are you going to be on brand here, or are you going to shock us all?
Yeah, come on. Is there any question? Oh, Canada. Of course I'm going Corey Connors, man. He's my guy. One of the best ball strikers on tour, one of the best drivers on tour. Not enough people are talking about how well he's driving the ball. 6th in strokes gained off the tee. His short game is still struggling, but it's improved based on years past. Like the past couple of years, he was like literally like bottom 10 in putting. He's 104th this year, so he's quite literally like the definition of average in putting. But he's so good with his approach game and with his play off the tee that he can make up for that. I don't hate Russell Henley, to be honest. That would probably be my second choice. Very good statistically. I actually didn't know he's first in strokes gained approach. That was a little surprising to me. I should have known that. Matsuyama, I don't want to take anything away from Matsuyama's win last year. He won. A lot of people forget about Matsuyama, though. During Saturday's round, there was a rain delay at Augusta, and he was one of the last groups out, and he finished his round on Saturday after the rain delay, and that little rain delay softened up the greens, and then he went on a run where he birdied like 6 out of like 8 holes or something to finish the round because the greens just got rained on, were super soft. Almost nobody else in the field got to play on those soft greens except for Matsuyama and a handful of other guys. And then he basically won the tournament that way because he shot 1 over on Sunday. People forget he shot a 73 on Sunday. So don't want to take anything away from Matsuyama, but he had some luck go his way last year is all I want to say. So he could, if he's healthy, he could make a run. But out of this group, I would go Connors first and then Henley and then probably Matsuyama third. Don't trust Adam Scott or Tony Finau has been terrible this year. He should be like 100 to 1.
I wonder what Ken Palm has Matsuyama's luck rating at this season.
I'm glad I don't have to hear about Ken Palm for the next 8 months
till November.
You'll be looking at it in October. Don't lie to yourself.
When the rosters are finalized in July, I'll crank it up for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you might be looking at it throughout the transfer portal. Like let's just own this right away. All right. Hell of a squad. I think if you were entering this for the BetSided Masters pool, which by the way, you can check out. It's right over at the top of our Twitter handle at BetSided, BETSIDED. It's right at the top. Make sure you guys get in. It is free to enter. You can also be a part of it each and every week. Winner this week gets a $250 Visa gift card. Sign up before Thursday if you want to get in on the action. So here's our team. Justin Thomas in tier number 1, followed by Collin Morikawa. Will Zalatoris in the middle at, I think he's still at 30 to 1 over at WinBet. Nice even number there. Daniel Berger comes in tier number 4, and we round things out with Corey Connors in tier number 5. And there you have the odds right there over from WinBet. Justin Thomas 13 to 1, Morikawa at 20 to 1, Zalatoris is 30 to 1, Berger 50 to 1, and Connors at 70 to 1.
Corey Connors being 70 to 1 is shocking. That's disrespectful. That's unbelievable. 70 to 1.
I will tell you, like a lot of these odds that WinBet has, like if you're planning on betting golf this week and you haven't made a WinBet account, you're going to want to do so. Like their numbers relative to consensus, there's a ton of value there. A ton. Like Connors, I haven't seen Connors, he's been 50 to 1 everywhere I've looked. So the fact that you can get him right now at 70 to 1 is absurd. And I would strongly suggest taking advantage of that if you do decide to do so. And that is our best bet Masters team, the crew putting our collective heads together, because we've had, all the success in the world doing this for our second chance bracket and our final 4 picks. This is the time that this is going to be your winning Masters. Yes. And shout out to the Cougs as well in the process. Always appreciate you guys hanging out with us on Tuesdays for Best Bets. Also shout out to our video producer and director, Joanne Stoner, for the amazing graphics along the way, as well as getting this all organized and put together for you. So for Ian, for Peter, for Donovan, for Reed, I'm Ben. May all of your bets hit when it comes to Masters Week. Plenty of content, by the way. Ian's been doing an awesome job of it over at BetSided, getting you ready to bet on the Masters as well. We'll talk to you next week. Till then, so long, everybody.